Hell yes. Welcome back to the Lil Res podcast, also known as the Relaxing Evening Stroll podcast. It is September 21st, and it is room temperature once again, and it's also the evening. Here's the gnocchi of the day, wherever it is on the screen. There's gnocchi up in her cat tower, took that picture earlier today, and she's up in her cat tower right now. And the hat of the day, a little bit of a twist, it's no hat at all.
All right. And you've just made the entire TF2 community upset, but how are you doing today, Harrison?
Thanks for asking, Richard. I'm doing I'm tired. I'm tired. I've been working a lot, and I've been working over the weekend and stuff too. And I need a break. So I will be getting a break pretty soon. But yeah, it's been an interesting past like week and a half, 2 weeks. I've been like, I don't know what to make of this. I definitely made a mistake, right? I took on a deadline that I ultimately probably shouldn't have, and I did what I could to manage that, but it's always going to be difficult, right? I mean, the failure case of like, oh, I just missed the deadline was fine. I think I was okay with that happening, but okay with that happening in the like grand scheme of things. But it always feels bad to miss a deadline, I think, whether you like it or not. Maybe that's not true for everybody, but you set an expectation, so if you don't reach it, you're like, I wish I reached that expectation. That's how I'm doing. How are you doing, Rich?
I'm good. I've been enjoying tap water as of lately.
Mm,
Out in the East Coast, tap water is not very good, at least in
no.
my particular city. But
Yeah.
out here, it's like straight from the mountain type stuff. It's got like just the right amount of like fluoride, like in chemtrails in it that just make it taste like A1. Like this is like I crave this tap water. Like I woke up like at 2 a.m. last night, went downstairs just straight from the sink, just some good stuff, man. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, the West Coast depends on where you are on the West Coast, I suppose. But the West Coast tap water definitely, I think, is superior to Midwest and East Coast in my experience. I'm sure there are some very excellent probably mountainous places where you can get some great tap water outside of there. But a lot of the mountains are near the West Coast, so shout outs to good tap water, dude. I went to some like, what was it, like not like a camp, maybe it was a camp, it's just some place out in nature. I remember when I was a kid, and I remember their water was one of those situations where like literally like you can pull it directly from the stream or the lake or whatever, and it's clean enough to drink. One of those rare situations, and I remember drinking that water and
Mm.
being like, whoa, why is this water like so good? Maybe it's psychological, but I just remember that water
No,
being
no,
great.
no.
And it was
You were
like,
you
yeah.
got freshly caught water, dude. Nothing tastes better.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's because like if it's flowing properly and the bad things aren't in there, it's like good to go, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know. They said it was safe to drink. I drank it and I didn't get sick. We got a lot to go over today. Kind of not. I just wrote down a bunch of things. We're not gonna get through everything. I realize I didn't really write down that we should do a little update on how the latest video is doing. So maybe we'll do that first. Does that sound good? Is there anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
jump
do
right in.
that. Let's do that. So, if you've been listening, if you've been following, you know that I have been. I took a sponsorship about 3 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, and it had a deadline for the end of this month, end of September. And I knew I was going to need to crunch when I took the sponsorship. So I was like, all right, we'll just see how it goes, I guess. Quickly realized that the level of crunch that I'd signed up for was too much. So I pivoted to a different video for that sponsorship. And that video I've been working on, and it was still crunchy, but a lot less crunchy for sure. For sure, a lot less crunchy. But I've had to like work weekends and stuff, and I've been working late night too. I don't want to say it's that like, what is the term, midnight oil, cranking the midnight oil? Is that it?
Burning the midnight oil.
Burning the midnight oil. Um, I work late because I just like staying up late. It's not because I was like, oh, grinding through the night type of thing. I just like working late. But I was working longer days than I usually would. Um, but that video is very, very close to being done. I'm actually probably gonna put up a Patreon cut tomorrow when this podcast goes up, and we'll see what needs to get done for the sponsor to approve it. Maybe they just approve it as is. But once that's approved, I will also post that. And the video is just a year in review of how my past year went. But I tried to be really, I tried to learn from it, which I try and do as much as I can with videos, which I talk about. Do I actually end up talking about it in that video? I think I talk about it a little bit. I cut a lot of stuff from the version you
A
saw,
little
Rich.
bit,
It's
yeah.
like maybe it's
Okay,
like
gotcha.
75% as long as what you saw. Um, Maybe even a little bit shorter from the content you saw. Anyways, doesn't matter. But I it's about me. So I film myself using this camera, the new camera. Um, and it's what I learned is that cinematography is really hard. Filming yourself in general is really hard. But I've been studying cinematography for the past like few weeks, ever since I got this camera, because I knew I was going to need to do it. But this is my first time actually going out and trying to take shots and stuff, trying to find shots. And it's just hard to appreciate it until you're really doing it. And I did photography too, I should know, but just getting your camera to be in the right place is already difficult. A tripod gets you only so far, which explains why movies and stuff always have huge like robot arms and shit, and just tons of equipment dedicated to simply holding the camera. uh, but yeah, I've learned a lot from it. I was worried it's gonna suck. I actually have no idea how the video is gonna do, but I think I'm pretty happy with where it is now. And I think it's a valuable learning experience, and it was very valuable that I spent time critically reflecting on how my year went as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
definitely.
update. What are you gonna say, Rich?
Definitely. No, no, I it's awesome when you think that like you in a sense you somewhat got paid to like reflect on your like career thus far. If you
Yeah, basically,
in a
yeah,
way, it's kind of cool to think about.
yeah. I'm not gonna say who the sponsor is yet. I don't think I'm breaking contract by saying, but I just don't want to give them more promotion than they're paying me for. But it's a funny sponsor. I think it's funny. I think it's a funny sponsor for this video.
It's a
Um,
good bit. It's a good bit, no doubt.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. Um, let's see. Let's do one of these agenda items. Is there any that stick out to you, Rich? That'd be fun.
Oh yes, yeah. Ironic pop off, gone unironic. That's awesome.
Ah, that one's good. So in the video, there is a moment near the climax of the video, if you will, where I thought it would be funny to do like a pop off, like woo, yeah. It makes sense once you watch the video. And so I did that, but I didn't really plan out how I was gonna do it. I was just like, all right, at this point, in the video, I will do like a pop off. So I remember I was like on camera, and then I'm like, all right, this is the time when I do the pop off. So then I did the pop off, and the second I started the like motions, once I started going through the motions of popping off, it turned into like, it went from being kind of like a ironic, kind of silly joke pop off to like I felt it in my bones, and it turned into a real pop off. It's like the gamer in me was like, wait, if I just go like, let's go, something happens inside of like my brains on a primal level, and I just have to be legitimately excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was so funny. Um, because I was like watching the footage back and I was like, I really sell this, and I was like, it's because I really felt it. I maybe I don't I don't know. If you know me, I sold it. Um, but yeah, that's the ironic pop off gone unironic. Um, yeah, well, maybe we'll rapid fire bounce through these. Okay, I'm just gonna pull
Let's
this
do
one
it.
up.
Yep.
So because I was doing a year in review, I watched back my the video I made 1 year ago, the one I released right when I quit my PhD, filmed in front of the 100 gex tree. And that video is so interesting for me to watch. I haven't watched it in a long, long time. It's probably been like over half a year at least since I last saw it. And few takeaways. I am so anxious in that video. It's very interesting to see how I'm anxious because we were filming, or I was filming, um, in front of the filming in front of the Gek tree is weird because it's on private property. And the first time I tried to film that video, I got kicked out. Politely, but I got kicked out. And so the second time I went back, uh, I tried to not get kicked out, but I was worried I'd get kicked out again. And to make sure I didn't get kicked out, I filmed at 1:30 a.m.
I remember I was on the we were
Yeah.
on the Discord call
Yeah,
together,
you're on the
and
Discord call to keep me company.
and it was crazy. Like there was like way too much foot traffic for it being 1:30 a.m.
It
at
there
like a random office park in the suburbs.
Yes, yes. You do not see. I mean, obviously in the video you don't see any of that, but I was like literally sitting in my car scoping that location out for like what was it, like half an hour or maybe even a little bit longer.
Maybe I think longer. I think it was closer
Yeah,
to an hour.
because people kept coming and going, um, in weird ways. You know, not in ways that are just like, oh, you can ignore it. It's just a car driving by, because cars are gonna drive by. It was like people, yeah, is weird. So I felt uncomfortable. So I was anxious for that reason. But over the video, I calmed down. Um, but even once I'm calmed down, I think you can still tell there's a lot of anxiety in my heart, which makes perfect sense. I had just, well, I hadn't even left my PhD at that point. I was about to leave my PhD. So it was literally like I hadn't even relieved the tension yet. I filmed at the height of my tension a few days before I left. Um, but I have I have calmed down a lot since then. It's very interesting to see. Anyways, I've totally forgot the point of why I was saying all this. Um, but I remember now is maybe I'm just being a little narcissistic, but there was something really charming to me about watching that video and seeing how raw it was. I was actually kind of like shocked by how vulnerable I think I was being in that video. Probably a lot more vulnerable than I'd ever be on the internet now. And it made me think about how I just probably will never ever be able to put something like that out on the internet again, whether I want to or not, because the thing that gives that video that weird kind of like anxious but hopeful vibe is because I was feeling extremely anxious and hopeful in that moment, you know? And I'd been sitting in that, I had been marinating in that feeling for literally months at that point. And there's this weird thing where like sometimes, because art is often, almost always, in my opinion, whether you mean it or not, an expression of like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the emotions are always going to seep through. And some artists need to be in pain for them to make the stuff that people like, or even the stuff that they like. Um, do you know what I'm talking about, Rich? I've definitely, there are artists I've seen where like if you look at their interviews and stuff, they're always talking about being like really depressed, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow, it's so fascinating. Some people's art, like the vehicle for it, the engine that keeps it going, is their suffering. It's like, dang, like for you to make something that's beautiful, you have to be feeling horrible. I don't want to be like that kind of artist.
Yeah. I think your disposition is not of that one. But yeah, no, it is interesting. And it's also interesting looking back that like you incidentally like showed that side of yourself. Like that's cool.
Yeah. And I think it even bleeds into like some of my earlier videos, like the yo-yo video. I know it's doing super popular, but I'm never gonna be, at least right now, I don't think I'm gonna be in the near future feeling the way I was feeling when I was making that video. Because that was like peak honeymoon period. That was like right when I was really finding my groove, trying something new. I got to spend a while on that video too. Um, I might do another video that's like, the John Boy's format, similar style story, but I think the vibe I'm not going to be able to recapture because it's just too intrinsically tied to what my lived experience was when I made it. Um,
In that moment, you were anxious,
and
not because of any school's phony diploma, but because you were enlightened by your own YouTube career.
yeah, perfect, perfect. Um,
All right,
yeah,
next
not.
agenda item. What do we go through? Oh, sorry. Did you mean do you want to
Oh,
wrap?
yeah. I was just gonna say one last thing, which is uh, oh, for me, I know that sometimes there's like you like a band or something, right? But then like the style of their music changes over time, and you're like, I don't like this anymore. That might happen with the stuff I make, but as an individual, as the person who's producing it, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go wherever this stuff takes me. It's unfortunately for my audience, really, if we're being honest here, you're just along for the ride. I'm making whatever I want and doing whatever I want to do. And if you like it, that's great. And if you don't, sorry, it's what I wanted. I'm just not, yeah, but let's move on. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. What is next?
We're moving fast this time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here, we'll get this one in really quick. Richard, you are on I said hit list. You're on my hit list of friends who receive, I said lower order requests. What I mean is like more granular, like short timeline, fast, quick and
Mm.
dirty type of feedback requests. Um, and I said I want to publicly thank you for fielding those and for supporting me because I definitely think I get a lot out of having a very strong social network. I think it's critical to what I've been able to do, both my close friends but also my creator friends. I think that's been absolutely paramount. So I wanted to recognize you. Thank you, Richard. It is much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. I think not to immediately take this off of me, but also to immediately take this off of me.
Hmm.
I think it'd be interesting to. I don't think the audience fully knows about like your process and like when you have feedback. Like for example, with thumbnails and stuff, you kind of have a mixture and like the small group of like our close friends, and each one kind of brings something a little bit different. It's like you're like some's a bit more normy, some's a bit more like online. Like it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I don't want to get into it too much. I don't want to get into process stuff too much this episode. But
Mm.
I would like it would be cool for us to talk shop. Maybe next week. But yeah, yeah, I try and have like different if you like imagine a Venn diagram, right? I'm just trying to have as many circles that cover as much area that I think needs to be covered. To be honest, dude, I still have no clue what my demographic is. I said that this, I said this podcast was supposed to help me connect with the audience, but I haven't even been reading the comments. I don't know if there are comments because I've been busy. But I don't really want to make a Discord server right now because you have to moderate and stuff. It's like work, right?
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know who my audience is, so I just assume that people who are close to me slash other creators I know are like maybe some close approximation of that. But really, I'm just curating to whatever my taste is, and then hoping that there is an audience for it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that makes sense because your YouTube career, like when you first started, you were in your videos a little bit less, and you've been more comfortable putting yourself in them more. Like I think
yeah,
of the Melee tier video. That's like that's you. Like that's all you. It's not just you telling a story. That's like your analysis and your musings. And it's
yeah,
like if I'm friends with you, it means that I like the RESPRiT brand. So it
Right,
would make
right.
sense that people online that watch you would also like the RESPRiT brand. So we're just helping you refine that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Like if anybody who's my friend likes talking with me and I like talking to them, and if they like talking to me, then they probably should like hearing me talk in a scripted format.
If you like RESPRiT, you'll love his videos.
Yeah. um.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Another one. Rapid fire today because the agenda items are there's so many of them. Um. My screen time the past like 2 weeks. Was it last week that I was bragging about my screen time? Was it that
You
recently?
had like it was like last week or the week before. You were like yeah, it's like 1 to 2 hours
Yeah,
average.
dude, my screen time was freaking killer. It was like literally like half of my screen time would just be having Google Maps open if I had to do like a long drive downtown or something. And then the
Right.
rest would just be like pretty routine, checking Messenger, but I was keeping it really low. Um, but once I took this deadline and I started getting busy, my screen time went up and now it's like 4, maybe 5 hours daily. It like
Mm.
doubled. Um, and it's like it's kind of paradoxical, right? Because it's like, oh, you're more busy, but now you're spending more time on your phone. What gives? But I am indeed working more. It's just that I haven't been going to the gym. I haven't been doing my morning walks. Those are coming up soon. I'm actually freaking excited to start doing those things again. I knew I didn't have the time for them, but the thing is when you start cutting those things out, you need something else to give you little hits of dopamine, and then the phone
Yep.
becomes
Yep.
what does that. But the dopamine from the phone sucks ass.
It does. And it's like I imagine when I'm faced with a big deadline, I will look at my phone a lot more as well because it's like kind of like avoidant behavior. It's
Yeah,
like
it's very powerful escapism, right?
yes,
It,
yes.
it
The phone
really
is too good of an escape, but it's like
yeah.
also shit for that reason too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cuz like running is like escapism, but it's because you think so much, but and it flows so much that you get we were talking about this before. You get like flushed, right? It's like
Yeah.
at least for me, I don't want to rehash too much, but at least for me when I'm running, I can't stay on a single thought or an emotion for too long. So I'm just constantly cycling through them. And by the end of
Mhm.
it, I'm like, wow, I just processed like a ton.
Yeah. Your brain's going like DJ earworm mashup of all your thoughts or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. RESPRiT top hits of the day. And okay, here's the awful consequence of my screen time going up in the last 2 weeks. My left thumb, that's my scrolling thumb, is killing me. It's been kind of irritated, but today specifically, I woke up and it hurts. Like my left thumb, like I overused it. My screen time might actually be low today because I straight up could not use my phone. Um,
It's so annoying.
yeah, I got those hand issues, but we'll get back on doing the because here's the problem. When I do my morning walk, that's when I do my hand stretches for the day, right? Like 20 minutes of hand stretches, and that's why my hand like if I do that, my hands feel great the rest of the day. Um, Sometimes I'll even like wake up and my hands feel great, but I think my hand issues are related to like my blood circulation. I've always had poor blood circulation in my hands, and something about sleeping when I wake up in the morning, like I think the it hasn't started flowing yet, and so I'm like a lot stiffer. So I have to like shake it out and stuff. But then once I shake it out, do
Mm,
my stretches, I feel perfectly fine.
yeah. You got to like warm yourself up for like the rest of the day versus like a cold start. That makes total sense.
Yeah. By the way, if you're listening to this, whoever you are, viewers, you should take care of your hands. Hands. One day, so I wrote a script like almost a year ago all about hands. It's like an 1 hour long script, but it's just I didn't like it. But you gotta love your hands, man. Hands are so important. They are our primary way of interacting with the world, and that conveys a lot of information to the world and back to us. So you got to take care of your hands. Uh, I'll say one more thing on hands. There's this book about hands from this hand doctor who would do hand stuff. I think he focused on musicians or something. Whatever it was, he was speaking at like a conference for musicians, something like that. And he was talking about some patient he had who like had a bad enough injury that they were like never going to be able to play the instrument they played ever again. It was like the violin or something. And he said that story, when he told it on stage, immediately multiple people in the crowd just started sobbing. Um, and when he talks to some of the musicians later, it's because if your like main way of self-expression is doing something with your hands, which is a lot of people, the idea of losing your hands, is freaking terrifying. Uh,
Mm.
so maybe we haven't honed our hands over decades like a lot of musicians have, but if you play games, if you draw, if you do, I don't know, what are other things, if you use your hands a lot to do things you like, take care of your hands. I've been on this for too long.
TLDR, don't defile your digits.
Yeah, don't defile those digits. All right. Richard, I'm going to hand off to you for a second because I think I've been talking a lot and I want to sip on this lemonade. So you just have to fill the time for like whatever.
Hmm. Let's see here. So, what's the deal with airplane food? No. Honestly, one of the things that I've been thinking a bit about recently is the concept of being kind versus being nice, and
Oh yeah.
some of the interesting things that go with that. And there's that whole analogy about like people on the East Coast are like I don't know, they're kind but they're not nice. People on the West Coast are nice but they're not kind. Whatever. But I think there's also like a little bit more you can glean from that. Like for example, if you're nice or I don't know. Someone was talking about living like a self-actualized life, and they were saying that there are times when like you shouldn't be nice, but you should always try and be kind. And
Mm-hmm.
that gets me thinking about like be how being nice when it like what nice is kind of sacrificial in a sense. Like it's like sacrificial when maybe it doesn't need to be, while kindness is just like a little bit more genuine. I
What do you mean by sacrificial?
like if someone says that like someone is like really nice, like I imagine that that person, and maybe someone is just naturally nice, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they will put their feelings aside at the expense of other
Oh,
people's
I
feelings
see.
to come off as nicer for whatever, for could be a billion different reasons why.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think sometimes like being nice is actually like can be bad too. I don't know. It's well, being
Yeah.
kind is almost never morally bad in my eyes.
Yeah. I think if I'm gonna throw definitions on these, I think kindness boils down to like almost like your love for humanity or your fellow human.
Hmm.
I think people who are really kind just care a lot about people. Um, is what's going on there. You're if you're kind, it's because like you genuinely want the people and humans around you to be happy, healthy, fulfilled. That's what I think I associate with kindness. Versus nice is like, I don't know, more superficially just uh honestly just like anxious avoidant. I don't know. Is that what niceness is? I think I'm pretty nice, but I think it's because I am pretty I don't think I have social anxiety. I'm pretty sure I don't. But I think I am conflict avoidant. So
Hmm.
I saw a tweet from I think it was Spark. He's a Super Smash Bros. Melee player, and he said something like, "I am a social chameleon, and I've learned that this is true because I will set aside all of my values just to like make a situation." be like what's the word I'm looking for? You know, be uh is there a better how would you describe this? Make a situation blank. Make a situation.
Less uncomfortable, like make
I
a
don't know. I
situation
feel like
more
there's a word that
comfortable.
can fit there, but I think everybody gets the point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then he proceeds to talk about how he got into an Uber with like a literal Nazi, and
Oh
the dude thought he
gosh.
was like a fellow Nazi because he was so agreeable.
He's like, oh god.
It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
dude, but I saw that tweet. I thought about it. I was like, yeah, if I got an Uber with like a really racist person, I'm gonna be perfect. Like straight up, I don't have the backbone to fight that. I'm just gonna ride out the Uber and I'm gonna get the fuck out.
yeah.
You
Like
know?
I'm not gonna encourage them, but that's not a spot where I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, dude, that's so true. Like, no.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, and also for just one last thought about this is like
Yeah.
you can tell someone something they don't want to hear, and that can be perceived as the kind thing to do if it will help
Yes.
them grow,
Yes.
but that's never the nice thing to do.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Yeah, that's interesting to think about because I think I've met people who are really kind and not nice at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think while I admire that, I think it helps a freaking ton to be nice and kind.
Yes,
Because when
yes,
I
I
think about
think
people who are
that.
kind and nice, I'm like, I like those people a lot more. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. People
um,
that can, but you can't always be nice. You got to like. There are times when you have to put it aside, even just for a little bit.
yeah, yeah. And then I love doing this one last thought thing, but if I get the sense that someone is not kind, that's definitely a big red flag for me. If somebody expresses that like they're willing to not care for their fellow human being, that's like I think that might be my biggest litmus test of like I don't fuck with this person.
Oh gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Not
No,
such a
the
brave
whole
thing to
like
say, I know.
no, you see someone like this is gonna sound like an Ask Reddit thread now, but it's like you see someone that like is like mean to a waiter, like you're just like, oh, this
Yeah.
person is not good. This is like this is an ick.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. Yeah. It's so interesting when people are like that because I think those people just don't know that they're being that way. Like 99% of the time. Because how could you live with yourself if you knew how other people were perceiving you as
Yeah,
um
or you're just a literal like socio or psychopath
right,
or
right. There
whatever.
are the
Like
people who know and they don't care. Those people
that's
wrap back to being
scary.
sigmas who we gotta respect. So shout out to sigma males.
Oh gosh. Oh god. Can you feel my heart? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Um.
Well, moving on. Can I bring up a prompt?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. I'm curious about this potential post hat era.
Oh yeah. So once I release the 1 year video, um, I think we're officially in RESPRiT season 2.
Mm.
So I'm probably gonna change my profile picture. I'm probably gonna change my YouTube banner. There are no content implications that come with that whatsoever. StarCraft series is still going to be wrapping up the same it was before, but I think it's just
Wait, but
nice to have
what's the
little.
point? What's the point in doing a new season if you can't sell more merch? You don't have Respite merch.
That's a good point. If every season I had new merch, well,
Yeah,
I don't
there
have
you
any
go.
merch, but yeah.
I just assume that's why YouTubers do it so they can sell more stuff.
I don't think you're entirely wrong. I think for me it's just a refresh, right? It's like update the brand and whatnot. You're always gonna have a brand, so you gotta tend to that whether you like it or not. Um, but I was thinking like maybe we'll do like a 50-50 hat thing. I like the hats, but I don't know what it is. I think I'm just getting a little bit tired of it. Cause I mean, I wear hats on camera most of the time, but in my day-to-day life, I am not wearing hats that often.
Mm.
I wear hats a lot. Let's be clear. I own a lot of hats and I wear hats a lot, but I'm not wearing a hat every day. Um, there have been times when I was doing that because I had really long and messy hair, but nowadays the hat is just if I want that look. Um, it's kind of I think yeah, I don't know what it is, but we might have no hats or maybe 50-50, but it's all about just doing something new. It's like when you get to college and you get a new haircut. Um, just fresh it up a little bit, and I think it's like a narrative artifact that indicates a new turn, right? It's like, okay, something has
Mm.
changed here, even if it's just as simple as what your hair looks like.
Yeah, fair. And you're
Uh,
into your second year of YouTubing, so makes sense.
yeah, yeah. That's Is that crazy to think about? It is kind of crazy to think about because I don't know. I guess I didn't. I thought I was going to be good at this. This is going to sound egotistic, but I did not expect myself to be this good at it. um, I knew that YouTube was my opportunity to go from like taking my jack of all trades, master of none skills and putting them together. But over the year, it's become more and more apparent to me how much I just like inadvertently built all the right skills. Um, and I mean, not everything, but this year was like me spot healing all the things that I didn't have already or like refreshing on the stuff that I was rusty with. But like, I literally spent like multiple years as photography being one of my main hobbies. I took hundreds and thousands of photos. I used to animate. I spent years animating. I did graphic design. I spent years doing graphic design. I programmed, I did a CS degree. I wrote a lot of code. And that means that if I ever need to write code for a project, it's really easy for me to get started on something like that. I don't know. I'm not going to go through everything. Oh, one more thing, actually. The writing, I didn't think, I still don't think I'm an amazing writer, but, and like I said this last podcast, but I think I have a good writing process. And I think that's because of the PhD. If you do a PhD, you're going to have to write a lot. I was writing constantly every week, pages and pages of writing. And so now I can write without it being hard. Just all these little things. I was like, wow, I know how to do this. That's so cool. And things I don't know how to do, I'll learn. Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, no, I don't think it's egotism. I was honestly like, as your friend, I was pretty shocked, like how quickly you got on the YouTube learning curve. And like when you produce stuff, I was like, wait, why does this like feel like a YouTube video I've seen before? And it's like, oh, like because he's actually like replicating the style of another video in like a very like clean and very like
Yeah.
in like a very compelling way. I was like shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. I think going back to that like wide range of skills thing, I think I had the right eye across a lot of different things to just know when something felt off, like the video didn't feel like a quote unquote real YouTube video. And I knew how to identify what the thing was that was making it not feel like a real YouTube video, or
Mm.
I knew where to look to learn what the thing was that I needed. Um, I think my videos are weird because I think they feel like real YouTube videos, but they also feel not that like they just. I think there's a quality to them that I've just never seen in any other YouTube video before, uh, at an essential level. That also sounds a little egotistic. Nobody's like me, but I think it's because everybody's unique. But there are so many copycats on YouTube. Nothing wrong with that, honestly. But like so many people who are following like really the same cookie cutter style that those people are easy to lump together, right? Because all of their
Yeah.
stuff looks the same. But I never did. I never did any one-to-one format matching or anything. Every video
Yeah.
is like I'm gonna reference other formats, but I'm gonna figure it out on my own.
And to be fair, like copying is a big part in learning too. Like
Yeah.
you,
Oh, you gotta do it. I definitely encourage it. The only type of copying that's not cool is when if you're going like bar for bar, right? But
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
copying structure, copying themes or ideas, I think that's fair game. I think people should do that. Because it's a lot easier than trying to come up with a structure, for example, on your own. That sounds hard.
Yeah.
Let people have already figured that out. Do it. That's what every single blockbuster movie is doing. They're all following the same structure that blockbuster movies follow.
Dude, everyone be copying the Iliad and the Odyssey, hero's journey. All copycats.
Yeah. Homer be like,
He's like, bruh, where's my
bruh.
pen?
uh, I'm gonna segue off that a little bit. I talking about the video I was working on again. So I haven't made a video like this, right? I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of like a lifestyle talking about myself, right? Basically. And I had to film myself just talking, and I wrote a script. I wrote too many drafts actually. When I went out to record, I had multiple drafts, and I didn't know which one to do, so I just picked one. Um, but it turned out that that didn't even really matter because I was not going to be able to memorize like 3,000 words of lines the day of, so I had to wing it a lot. Um, and I recorded all day. It took me 8 hours. It took me 8 hours to get all the recording done. And then there was more recording I had to do afterwards to patch up like clips that I didn't get. But when I was doing the initial takes, that was one of those moments where I was like, man, this video is gonna suck because, oh, excuse me. Um, I kept messing things up. I kept being like unsure on my delivery, and like 80% of the footage ended up being pretty crap. But once I got into the editor and cut it down, it started to look better. And as I've cut it down even more, I think it almost looks like I am reading off of a script, or that the video is scripted, which it is, but again, it's not. Like I was delivering the lines off the top of my head. I wasn't reciting lines that I had memorized. Um, and it reminded me of how it is a very common beginner trap in learning to think that something that is very normal and is actually essential or critical to the process is something that's bad and shouldn't happen. So the
Mm.
example from computer science education that you see very often, and there's research papers on this, is that new programmers associate the debugging process with things going poorly. They think that because they have to debug, they did something wrong. Versus if you like survey professional programmers, they all think of the debugging process as like inevitable and critical and necessary and very valuable part of the programming process. To them,
Mm.
that's just what happens. The program's going to have bugs in it. That's fine. You fix it. Debugging is making progress. Debugging is a valuable part of the programming process. Um, but yeah, in my case, I just didn't have enough experience to appreciate that when you're doing this type of thing where you're not reading off a script like I'm used to, you just have to be used to all of the crap. That's just how it works. That's not wasted time. That's not anything going wrong. That's just part of the process. But I just didn't understand that at the time.
What is it from Adventure Time? I think it was like Jake the dog or Finn. Yeah, Jake's the dog. He's like, sucking is the first step to being kind of good at something. Like it's you got to break a
Yeah.
couple eggs to make an omelet. I don't know.
Yeah. It's all about
There's
sucking.
mm-hmm.
We've talked about it before on this podcast. We'll probably keep talking about it again. Anytime you suck during the learning process, it means things are going right. It means things are right because you got to feel uncomfortable and you got to suck to get better at this stuff. That's just the way it works. But it's hard. And I've also said that before and I'll say it again forever. It's hard to suck. So it's all about figuring
Yes.
out, how do I suck? How do I suck and live with myself?
All
All
right.
right,
Well,
Richard. Yeah.
I think we're pretty much at time. So
Yeah, I think I was ready to wrap as well. Yeah, I think this is a good time to stop. Listeners, check out the video when it comes out. And thanks for watching slash listening. Goodbye, no. And if you're persisting, if you're fighting to persist, you're already doing great. Thanks for watching. Bye.